What are we reading?
We're reading The Great Law of Peace, right?
I don't
So,
know what that is.
well, isn't that fun for you?
I'm not a nerd.
No, 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 no. The Great Law of Peace is fascinating, right? So, it's basically the document that the Iroquois. It's like the Iroquois had a constitution before the U.S., right?
Oh,
So the Iroquois had this constitution, and actually, before I even start reading it, I spent the 1 week that we didn't have Theory Thursday doing some background research on it. So essentially, um, we don't know if Hiawatha was real or not. I'm going to err on the side of non caution and say, yeah, he was probably a real dude. Um, but essentially, there was tribal conflict between the various tribal groups that were living up in what is now New York, right? So you
mm-hmm.
had like the Seneca, the Iroquois. I think is Iroquois the name of the federation? But you had like the Seneca, the Mohawk, so on and so forth. And this was during the height of the Little Ice Age, and New York is already really cold, so resources were scarce and it was tough to live, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in order to end the fighting that had been caused both by the scarcity of resources and internal politics, the tribal leaders of these various groups around Seneca came together and they said, "All right, we're going to form a confederacy. We're going to all work together." And it was Hiawatha who went around, spreading this message of like, let's work together, let's make something bigger. And he got all the chiefs together, and for like a few days they basically discussed, how are we going to uh, ensure cooperation. And so while it wasn't written down at the time, um, at least not that I know of, they basically created this set of ideas called the Great Law of Peace, which worked as a sort of proto constitution. And the really interesting thing about it, right, is that we actually do have definitive proof that when the settlers from New England were writing up the Constitution that we use today, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was actually like lifted from the Great Law of Peace, and it's only now that the Iroquois are actually getting the credit that they're due for their contributions to the founding document. So I find that really really fascinating.
Yeah, that seems pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I felt, well, that's something you should definitely, read at some point if you're living in the U.S. But obviously, because of how our education system is and the history of our country, it's not going to get put on any fucking required reading list. So
Yeah.
I figured, why not be the change I want to see in the world? I'll read it myself and make basically a very accessible video, um, both reading it and sort of giving a sort of base level analysis of it, the same way one would give an analysis if they were reading the Constitution, which is obviously the best document to compare this to, as one was sort of based on the other. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be reading today. Got any thoughts before we start?
Uh, hmm, not really.
Okay. Um. Well, I've
Well,
learned.
an off-topic tidbit though.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo's announced Super Mario 3D AllStars,
I heard about
and
that.
it's basically the original AllStars release for the SNES, but it's for the 3D games.
Mm-hmm. I heard they're
That
Disney vaulting it so that it's only like out for a short time
Yup.
Luckily for me, gentlemen, I've already got all of it on the original software, so I'm fucking good.
They said it's only available till March 2021.
That's wild. Imagine being such a fucking confident in your corporate practices, right? And your ability to get your customers to buy whatever shit you make, that instead of like trying to put your product out to market for as long as possible, you are completely okay with creating a false scarcity because you know your product will sell that well. Jesus.
Yeah,
Absolutely
any
awful.
I'm pretty sure everything Nintendo sells great for
Mm-hmm.
them.
Well, yeah, because honestly, I like their games, but I'm not going to say they're perfect. Their big strength is they've got IP. They got
Yeah.
those really strong IPs, and they have a monopoly on that.
One
So
thing I was disappointed about though is that none of them were remakes or remasters.
yeah, they're
They're
just
just
ports.
upres.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
they're just like up-resed ports. Huh?
Yeah, my main issue with that is with Mario 64 because it controls not very well. It was
Yeah,
made for the.
there's so many like small changes that could have been made.
Yeah.
Wild. All right.
Or even to the graphics.
Even to the graphics, you're right. Just like some basic texture upresing. I've seen mods that look better.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into Theory Thursday. Actually, all right, one last thing. What are you reading, Andres, for Theory Thursday?
Jack shit.
Damn. At least they honest about it though. All right. So, I'm going to butcher a lot of words that I'm not very good at reading because I don't speak Iroquois, or I think Iroquois is the name of the language. So this is Guyana-Iroquois. Guyana-Iroquois? Yeah, I think that's right. English name, the Great Law of Peace, as brought to the Confederacy of the Iroquois by Dengan nawida, the Peacemaker. Sweet. Okay. And obviously, I think this is a native company that basically translated the document and put it up. I always have that problem when some are. Yeah, no, I can pronounce words in two languages really really well. And
Nice.
I can sort of pronounce Spanish. I'm completely fucked if it comes to any other language.
Colonel.
Colonel.
Liquid's working with a new mad scientist. He's called Rick.
Okay, so here.
Turned himself into a pickle. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
You fucking shit poster, I love you. Alright. Here's the forward, and my voice will probably start to give out around hour 2. Many years ago, before the coming of the European to Turtle Island, as the Iroquois call North America, the Aboriginal nations of the eastern woodlands were in constant warfare. Nation against nation and village against village were engaged in endless blood feuds. The people knew not peace. The peacemaker from another land, the land of the Hurons, arrived in the territory of the feuding nations to bring a message of peace, righteousness, and power. His name was dengan nawida. So dengan nawida explained to the people that if they are to find peace, they must follow the laws of nature because all of life is derived from these laws. He said they must respect each other, other nations, and all creation in order to bring peace and harmony amongst themselves and throughout the world. The 5 Iroquois nations, Mohawk, Oneida, Cayuga, Seneca, and Onodaga, heard the words of dengan nawida and accepted the, Guyana-Iroquois, the Great Law of Peace. As a result, they formed the 5 Nations Confederacy. They buried their weapons of war so as not to fight each other again, vowing to uncover them only for defense against invaders. Peace had reigned between these nations for centuries by the time the Europeans came to Turtle Island. When the Europeans came to the eastern woodlands, they met representatives of the Confederacy and learned how to institute a republic based on some of the principles of the Guyana I cannot do that one. Guyana. In recent years, people concerned with living in a true democracy have expressed an interest in the Guyana and its guidelines as a way of life. In response to this interest, we have produced these 4 videos and a companion book, so this, I think, is the companion book, featuring the 117 wampums, or articles, of the Guyana, read in both Mohawk and English, followed by commentaries in both languages. You may follow the reading in Mohawk and English using the companion book, which also contains an explanation of the law. This work is dedicated to all the people wishing to spread the word of peace, righteousness, and power using the Guyana. Now, obviously, I cannot speak Mohawk, so, big respect to people who can, but those sections I will have to skip over because there's nothing I can really do with that. I'm sorry. So this is a table of contents. So, we've got... Oh, man. Wasn't there 107? Yeah, there's 117 of these. So again, as with all Theory Thursdays, these are introductory readings. So do not expect me to read a entire 130-page book.
Jesus!
On stream. I swore I would come back to Capital, and if there is significant interest, I will also come back to this one. So yeah, if you want me to come back to any particular book we read on Theory Thursday, let me know in the Discord. And if you haven't followed me already, now would be a great time to before we start the big book. Okay. Oh, that's a Turtle Island. What a lovely little graphic that is. Turtle Island obviously being the native term used for North America. And, because America is named after the, much how we say, fuck Columbus and rename things named after Columbus, keep in mind that North America is also named after a explorer colonist fellow by the name of Amerigo Vespucci, which I think, if we're going to have to name it after him, let's call it Vespuccia instead of America, because that's a lot funnier sounding. But yeah, Turtle Island is what the native people call it, and, it's not named after a colonizer, which is always, an advantage. Alright, so, the Organization of the Confederacy, Wampum Number 1, dengan, nawida, who I think is, I think that's another name used for Hiawatha, but I'm not sure. So dengan, nawida, and the chiefs plant the tree of peace. So it reads, I am dengan, nawida. With the statesmen of the League of Five Nations, I plant the tree of great peace. I plant it in your territory. Atotarho and the Onodaga Nation, in the territory of you who are the firekeepers. I name the tree, Sayonarata Sequoia, the great white pine. Under the shade of this tree of peace, we spread the soft, white, feathery down of the globe thistle as seats for you, Atotarho, and your cousin statesmen. We place you upon these seats spread soft with the feathery down of the globe thistle, there beneath the shade of the spreading branches of the tree of great peace, there shall you sit and watch the fire of the League of Five Nations. All the affairs of the League shall be transacted at this place before you, Atarho, and your cousin statesman by the League of Five Nations. So the term Five Nations makes it evident that all laws were made before 714, in which the Tuscarora nation was admitted into the Confederacy, but without an equal voice, contrary to the plan of dengan, nawida. Apparently, the first Grand Councils of the Iroquois Confederacy were held under the evergreen pine, the largest tree in eastern North America, more than 250 feet high, all cut down 200 years ago by the white men, who afterwards never let the great tree grow to full size again in their haste and eagerness to exploit it. Damn. So, wampum number 1 just sets out the place where, these meetings will be held. And wouldn't it be nice if if Congress met in a nice place of nature? Already it's better. Alright, wampum number 2, the great white roots of the tree of peace. Roots have spread out from the tree of great peace, one to the north, one to the east, one to the south, and one to the west. These are the great white roots, and their nature is peace and strength. If any man or any nation outside the Five Nations shall obey the laws of the great peace, Guyana, and shall make this known to the statesmen of the League, they may trace back the roots of the tree. If their minds are clean, and if they are obedient and promise to obey the wishes of the Council of the League, they shall be welcomed to take shelter beneath the tree of the long leaves. We place at the top of the tree of great peace an eagle who is able to see afar. If he sees in the distance any danger threatening, he will at once warn the people of the League. Note, the translator from the Indian to English got his tree mixed up. Tayonneratskawa does not mean a tree of long leaves, but a great tree with ever fresh leaves, meaning evergreen or the great white pine. The tree of long leaves could not be the white pine. Unless they had domesticated the eagles, it is an allegory, meaning that the people must be very watchful. Alright, what's chat saying? No. It's okay, Chow. I don't need a condensed form. I like to suffer and do my intro readings. Alright, so wampum number 3. Atotarho and the Onodaga chiefs, caretakers of the Council of Fire. To you, Atotarho and the Onondaga statesmen, I and the other statesmen of the League have entrusted the caretaking and watching of the Five Nations Council Fire. When there is any business to be transacted and the council is not in session, a messenger shall be sent to either Ototarho, Honowairathon, or Skanawati, firekeepers or their war chief, with a full statement of the business to be considered. Then Atotarho shall call his cousin chiefs together and consider whether the business is of sufficient importance to call the attention of the Council of the League. If so, Atotarho shall send messengers to summon all the chiefs of the League and to assemble beneath the great tree of peace. When the statesmen are assembled, the council fire shall be kindled, but not with chestnut wood. And Atatarho shall formally open the council. Then shall Atatarho and his cousin statesmen, the firekeepers, announce the subject for discussion. The smoke of the council fire of the League shall ever ascend and pierce the sky, so that the other nations who may be allies may see the council fire of the great peace. Note, chestnut wood throws out angry sparks. The inference here is not to inspire angry moods. Seeing the smoke of the council fire ascended to the sky is to induce friendly neighbors to drop in and sit a spell. Wow, they annotated it so I don't have to. But I am going to add one thing here, because if I remember correctly in my research, it said how the councils were fighting before, and or not the councils, the various nations were fighting before, and if I remember correctly, Atatarho was specifically the most violent and from the most powerful nation, and so the reason they specifically call him out is because when they founded the council, they specifically vested, they said, hey, do you want to lead the council, as a sort of olive branch, and saying we understand that you are angry and that you want to conquer, and that you want to lead, but instead of being, violent in your leadership, let's use that leadership that you want to have as a sort of constructive tool instead of a destructive one. So, if I remember correctly, that's why they call out Atatarho specifically. Not hegemon. I think it's like, do you want? I think it's like, do you want to be, the first among equals, or something like that. Not in the Roman sense that he's like emperor or nothing, but just like he sort of leads the council, but not, in a way that is domineering, but in a way that is constructive. Obviously, I'm not Iroquois, so I couldn't, accurately explain this role, but I think that's sort of the idea of what's going on here. Let's see. How are you doing, chat? Okay, so actually, that's something I need to get, is a plugin that does a chat playback on screen. If anyone knows something like that, link it to me. DM it to me on the Discord, and I'll figure that out after this reading. So, wampum number 4, the firekeepers to keep the council fire clean. No, I'm not using Streamlabs. So, number 4, the firekeepers to keep the council fire clean. So you, Atatarho, who we can sort of read as, the head honcho of this council, so I guess we can kind of read him as like a Speaker of the House or something like that. Is still technically just another member of a council, but a very important member of the council. So you, Atatarho, and your 13 cousin statesmen shall faithfully keep the space about the council fire clean, and you shall allow neither dust nor dirt to accumulate. I shall lay a long seagull wing. Oh boy. Tiowata Tekoa, Onara Hansta, or Hansa, before you as a broom. As a weapon against a crawling creature, I shall lay a stick, so that you may thrust it away from the council fire. If you fail to cast it out, then call the rest of the United Statesmen to your aid. Note, keeping the space around the council fire clean may also mean that a well-conducted council is being recommended, and the crawling creature may be a disrespectful person or person seeking to disrupt the council. So yeah, with all of these, they're going to read a lot with like subtext and a lot of metaphor that we as readers might not pick up on. So these notes are very, very helpful, and I thank whoever wrote them up. Specifically, where is it? Yes, so specifically Mohawk Nation News, and I'm putting their email and website up on screen so that, if you are interested by this, you can get far more information on it. So there you go. Let's get back to the reading. Okay, here's where we were. Okay. So Mohawk Council, Firekeepers, Bear Clan, I think that's English. I still can't pronounce it. Rotinioner. Okay, so final decision. The Council of the Mohawks shall be divided into 3 parties. The Bear Clan chiefs, the Tehanakarin, and the Ostawen Serentha and Soska Harawane are the first. The Turtle Clan chiefs, Terok Hoken, Oyonwatha, and Satar Karawade are the second. The Wolf Clan chiefs, Saren Hoawane, Teon Hekenwen, and Orenkoa are the third. The first part is to listen only to the discussion of the second and third parties, and if an error is made or the proceedings irregular, they are to call it to attention to it, and when the case is right and properly decided by the 2 parties, they shall confirm the decision of the 2 parties, and refer the case of the Seneca chiefs if it's a grand council. The well keeper of the Turtle Clan, Chief Tikara Hoken, announces the subject to be discussed and passes the issue over to the council fire to the Wolf Clan's chief for their decisions. No one else but the chiefs may speak when the chiefs' council is in session. The Wolf Clan's chiefs deliberate in low tones. When arrived at decision, their speaker stands up and passes the decision over the fire to the Turtle Clan chiefs. In turn, the Turtle Clan chiefs deliberate and come to a decision, which in this instance is the same as that of the Wolf Clan chiefs. The Turtle Clan chiefs, the Turtle Clan speaker announces the decision to the Turtle Clan chiefs, to the Wolf Clan chiefs, and passes on their joint decision to the Bear Clan chiefs, who shall then confirm the decision of the 2 parties and declare the issue passed, as does the well keeper have other issues. Oh boy, so this is basically a checks and balances, separation of powers kind of situation. So you have these 3 legal entities that sort of are existing, right, to sort of keep a check on the other ones and make sure that as proceedings are occurring, each one is sort of following the procedure and showing respect to the others. In the event that the Turtle Clan chiefs disagree with the decision of the Wolf Clan chiefs, the Firekeepers, or Bear Clan chiefs, shall invoke the rule that the 2 sides must deliberate again, and because of the new information revealed by the disagreement, the 2 sides are now likely to agree, and in coming to an agreement, the issue is confirmed and passed by the Firekeepers, the Bear Clan chiefs. Should the Turtle Clan chiefs and the Wolf Clan chiefs come up with the same disagreement in their second deliberation, the Firekeepers shall then render a decision they see fit, in case of a disagreement by the two bodies. So yeah, it's literally like if, Institution 1 and Institution 2 cannot resolve their differences, you have Institution 3 coming in to sort of resolve the matter directly. And this is important for any sort of representative institution that you want to create. This is true for, most obviously a government, a republic that's working correctly. But it's also important in a situation like the workplace, right? So you want to have, you don't want a CEO who has, sort of full control of the company, or a board of directors that have full control over the company and don't need to be held accountable to anyone aside from those wishing to see profit. Instead, you want a situation where you have something like this, where you have, parties interested in helping, those beneath them, and you want them to sort of play off one another in such a way that everyone's interests at the table are both represented and sort of held in balance, so that no one group is getting their interests heard over the other. And this is why you have sort of like the AFL-CIO might not be the best representation of this, but why you have unions and then you have like a larger pan-union organizer, so that, if you have, for example, a disagreement between the truck drivers and the longshoremen, right, you have this pan-union organizer to let them both, say their differences, and then the pan-union organizer can sort of help deliberate if no reconciliation can be reached. So yeah, this is very good stuff. This is the basics for any good functioning democracy. And we are only an hour in, and I am already beginning to lose my voice. Let's see if we can't get through a few more, though. Okay. So, from the Guyana Karawa, Great Law of Peace, wampums number 5 through 11, the Iroquois people are urged to read the Great Law often, so as to know the law and to call attention to whenever it is being violated. One is a Mohawk by birth, and one is an Iroquois by law. That is, one who follows the Great Law. That's also important, is too often in modern America, and in many other places too, you see this sort of a cult of knowledge form, right? Specifically cult of legal knowledge, where knowledge of the law is sort of gated, right? And it's sort of difficult to access, and it's not regularly taught, right? Like, you take civics in school, but it only teaches, the very most basics of it. And so, for the more, niche and specific law, which can honestly truly affect your life, it's sort of gated behind, both money and time. And I feel like, well, if you're going to create systems of laws, right, like the Iroquois people, you want it to be something that is easily accessible and something that is regularly reminded, so that you have a population that can engage with their civics in a good, like, constructive way, instead of it being this mythical knowledge that no one can access. Hi, Sweet Potato, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So, it's fucking Theory Thursday. What are you reading for Theory Thursday?
I don't know how to read.
Damn, that fucking sucks, dude. We'll work on that. We will definitely work on that. Sweet Potato says, while knowing multiple languages and being able to read probably better in both English and other languages than I can. Okay, so let's get to wampum number 5. The Council of the Mohawks divided into 3 parties. The Council of the Mohawks shall be divided into 3 parts. Tehanakarin, Ostawen Sorrenta, and Sosko Harawane are the first. And so these are the chiefs we mentioned from earlier. So Tekarahoken, Ion Watha, and Sate Karawade are the second, and Sarakawane, Teon Hekwen, and Orenrikoa are the third. Even if you're not interested in the Great Law of Peace, this stream is amazing, if only to see me just fucking mince vocabulary. And keep in mind that these 3 parts we're mentioning are chiefs from from nations that are within the Confederacy. So it's like creating 3 regional governments that sort of come together to form a more perfect whole. I can only empathize with the struggle, says Senpai. Yeah, I'm doing my best. So, here is how we divide it up into 3 parties. The first party is to listen only to the discussion of the second and third parties. If an error is made in the proceeding of irregular, they are to call attention to it, and when the case is right and properly decided by 2 parties, they shall confirm the decision of the 2 parties and refer the case by the Seneca statesmen for their decision. When the Seneca statesmen have decided, in accord with the Mohawk statesmen, the case or question...
Hello, do you want lunch?
Hang on 1 second. Yes, please. I'm doing some reading right now, though, so I'm trying to keep it down so I can not have too much interference while reading.
I'll let you do your thing.
Okay. Okay, I am back. Why have I been added 5 times? Ah. There's a smaller one, apparently. Well, here's the fun thing, right? Here's the fun thing for the people in my Discord telling me to read the smaller one. No. I like to suffer and read big legal documents. Might not be great for my viewer count, but I want to read the big one. Alright, so, where were we? So when the Seneca statesmen have decided, in accordance with the Mohawk statesmen, the case or question shall be referred to the Cayuga and Oneida statesmen on the opposite side of the house. Senpai Chow says, fuck the viewers. I agree. Fuck the viewers. So, what's being said here is, it's weird. You kind of have the legislative and the courts being sort of folded together in that they do the troubleshooting for what's being talked about and proposed while it is being proposed, which seems pretty efficient. And so you have, your 3 provisional governments, or your 3 sort of divisions of the nation, both, in terms of power as checks and balances, but also literally as in places that, are sort of separately governed but come into, combination with each other. And, I'm not an expert on Iroquois law, So I don't know how much autonomy each of these nations has within the Iroquois Confederacy, but it sounds like they have relative freedom. This, as one would expect from a confederacy, it sort of strikes the zone of being somewhere between a national government and somewhere between that and a larger organizing unit, like the European Union or the African Union, that sort of exists to streamline interactions between independent states. So it's somewhere in the middle between those two extremes of governance, which I'm a fan of that kind of stuff. So I think that this is a pretty good document. So we have wampum number 6, which is dengan nawida appoints the Mohawk chiefs, leaders of the Confederacy. So I, dengan nawida, not me, dengan nawida, the I, appoint the Mohawk statesmen, the head and the leaders of the Five Nations League. The Mohawk statesmen are the foundation of the Great Peace, and it shall therefore be against the great binding law to pass measures in the council of the League after the Mohawk statesmen have protested against them. No council of the League shall be legal unless all of the statesmen of the Mohawk are present. So yeah, you cannot have absentee sessions of Congress. You need everyone there to proceed, which, fair enough. The Mohawks were the first to accept the Great Law. They helped the founder, dengan nawida, to gather the other nations together. Missionaries admit that they went all over America and spread propaganda among the natives against the Iroquois Confederacy, especially against the Mohawks, because they were the most militant and great organizers. The missionaries felt certain they checked the spread of the Great Law, which would have made it impossible for the white men to conquer America. Ooh, man, that's a wild hypothetical, is essentially, the Great Law becoming a, pan-native or even pan, North America / Turtle Island organizing unit that sort of bound the whole thing together. That would have been very, very wild. Okay, so wampum number 7. Onodaga chiefs open the council fire of the Iroquois. Actually, one more interesting thing too is how it really is when you want to defeat a movement or a idea or a system, that you always do target the most militant organizers and the most militant supporters of that movement. So, the Mohawks were the greatest supporter of the Great Law. So who do these missionaries target specifically when they want to undo its spread? They target the Mohawk. And that's true for counterintelligence of basically any movement, really, is that it's always the most hardline supporters that will be sort of given the first sort of aggression and pushback. You can even see it now with various movements happening both in the U.S. and abroad. So wampum number 7. Onodaga chiefs open the council fire of the Iroquois. Whenever the statesmen of the League shall assemble for the purpose of holding council, the Onodaga Rotinyarner shall open it by expressing their gratitude to their cousin statesmen and greeting them, and they shall make the address and offer thanks to the earth where men dwell, to the streams of water, to the pools and the lakes, to the maize and the fruit, to the medicinal herbs and trees, to the forest trees for their usefulness, and to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and the lesser winds, to the thunderers, to the sky, or to the sun, the mighty warrior, to the moon, to the messenger of the Creator who reveals his wishes, and to the great Creator who dwells in the heavens above, who gives all the things useful to men, and who is the source and the ruler of health and life. Almost reads it does read somewhat like a religious document, as obviously, spirituality plays a heavy part in all this. Then shall the onodaga rotinyarner declare the council open. The council shall not sit after the darkness has set in. Note, the above opening Thanksgiving ritual is done at every gathering of the people. The orator gives thanks to all that helps human life. Giving thanks to trees, waters, winds, etc. does not mean that the people worship all these useful gifts, but rather thank the power that produces them. The word royaner means he makes a good path for the people to follow. Royaner, or rotinyaner, is a plural. Okay, so there is a ritual aspect to it, but it's not ritual in that it's a religious, but more that it is a cultural practice and sort of a moment of reflection and what's the word? I guess it's just a synonym of thankfulness, so I'll just say thankfulness for what's going on, which is important. It's good to take a moment to reflect on things and to keep perspective while going forward. So that's good. Okay, so wampum number 8. Every Onodaga chief must be present. The firekeepers shall formally open and close all councils of the statesmen of the League. They shall pass upon the matters deliberated upon by the two sides and render their decision. Every Onodaga statesman or his deputy must be present at every council of the League and must agree with the majority without unwarrantable dissent, so that a unanimous decision may be rendered. If Atotarho or any of his cousin statesmen are absent from the council of the League, any other firekeeper may open and close the council, but the firekeepers present may not give any decisions until the matter is of small importance, or unless the matter is of small importance. Note, no chief may start any unnecessary arguments or unjustifiably delay the progress of the council. So, number 9. All issues passed first by the Mohawks and the Senecas. So all the business of the Five Nation League shall be conducted by the two combined bodies of the Confederate statesmen. First, the question shall be passed upon by the Mohawk and the Seneca statesmen. Then it shall be discussed and passed by the Oneida and Cayuga statesmen. Their decision shall then be referred by the Onodaga statesmen, the firekeepers, for final judgment. The same process shall be followed when a question is brought before the council by an individual or war chief. Okay. So yeah, it has to be, there's sort of an order of operations here. With our own legal system, there's also this sort of order of operations. where it has to be passed by both legislatures, and then it goes in front of the president, and then it's passed into law. So there's a 3-step process. And here as well, obviously, it seems that there is a 3-step process from Mohawk and Seneca, then to the Oneida and Cayuga, and then to the Firekeepers. Okay. The Cayuga and Oneida wampum number 10. The Cayuga and Oneida chiefs are next to decide. In all cases, the procedure must be as follows. When the Mohawk and Seneca statesmen have unanimously agreed upon a question, they shall report their decision to the Cayuga and Oneida statesmen, who shall deliberate upon the question and report a unanimous decision to the Mohawk statesman. The Mohawk Rotenyaner, which is a title, will then report the standing of the case of the Firekeepers, who shall render a decision as they see fit in case of disagreement by the two bodies, or confirm the decision of the two bodies if they are identical. The Firekeeper shall then report their decision to the Mohawk statesman, who shall announce it to the open council. So this means, in the case of a disagreement between the two parties, Mohawk Seneca and Oneida Cayuga, the onodaga shall cast their vote on one or the other, making it a 2/3 majority, making it necessary for the 1/3 minority to go along with the decision of the majority, and it becomes a unanimous decision. Okay, so there are, sort of tools to get around like if a decision is not unanimous but majority popular. Good coffee. Good coffee. Wampum number 11. Case must be reconsidered if there is a disagreement. If through any misunderstanding or obstinacy, I try. If through any misunderstanding or obstinacy on the part of the Firekeepers they reach a decision at variance with that of the two sides shall reconsider the matter, and if their decisions are jointly the same as before, they shall report to the Firekeepers, who are then compelled to confirm their joint decision. Now here's something interesting to sort of think about, right? Is that from what it reads, it seems that it is required, in order for a decision to be passed, that it requires a unanimous consensus, which is good, which is very good. The issue with something like this working in the US or in any large area, right, is that the more people you have, the more representation is required. And the more representation is required, the harder it will become to get a unanimous backing for something, right? And so this is why I sort of support the idea of breaking up bigger states and bringing them into smaller constituent republics, because you will get better representation when there is not sort of this large glut of representation for a large state. Large states, obviously, tending towards imperialism at a more gratuitous and global level, even disregarding the issue of greater representation. So that's my thoughts on that. So I think it is good to have unanimous decision rules, but you need it to be a smaller group of people you're working with then, because bigger groups, less unanimous. Okay, I think we will do this one, and then I will do sort of a BRB short break type thing. So wampum number 12. The Onondaga firekeepers are last to decide. When a case comes before the Onondaga, the firekeepers, for discussion and decision, Adatarho shall introduce the matter to his comrade statesmen, who shall then discuss it in their two bodies. Every Onondaga statesman except Honon Wairtun shall deliberate, and he shall listen only. When a unanimous decision shall have been reached by the two bodies of the firekeepers, Adatarho shall notify Honon Wairtun of the fact, then he shall confirm it. He shall refuse to confirm a decision if it is not unanimously agreed upon by both sides of the firekeepers. Note, in the Onondaga National Council, the party for the final decision is comprised of only one individual, Honon Wairtun, who, however, has to follow the rule, which is simply to confirm a unanimous decision or to refuse to confirm a decision which is not agreed upon by the two sides. He does not have to take part or deliberate in the deliberation. It is already taken care of. So that kind of reminds me of the president in that he can sort of veto a decision, but it's very different in its application here, obviously, because one, Honon Wairtun, who seems to be playing the role of a quasi-president anyways, obviously does not seem to hold much power aside from when a decision is brought to him. He can say, like, he gets to decide whether, it seems that there's been a unanimous decision reached or not. So, it's sort of like a veto power, but not really. Still, it's a very interesting capacity, and I think that's a... I mean, I don't know much about this stuff. I just did 1 week of research. So all I can really say is it's a very fascinating take. But we're already on page 45. I think we can get almost halfway through it by the end of the stream. So I'm going to do my AFK. I'm going to put on the sort of copyright-free jazz that you were hearing at the start of the stream, and I'll be back in a little bit. So let's pull that up for you. Oh dear. Oh dear. Let's pull that up for you. Where did I put it? Favorites? There it is. Okay. Very nice, very nice. I should get something that's not like stream is starting soon. I wish I had something that says stream will be BRB. Need to invest in that. Need to professionalize a lot of this stream. But we'll just use the stream will be starting soon thing, because it is true. We're gonna use that provisionally, and I'll be back in a little bit. Buenos dias, gamers. I'm back. Hello. So, let's see what we can get through in the next, hour or so. Gave my voice a chance to rest, and I should be much, much better at speaking. Let's see. Let's get our material back on screen. There we go. There they are. Okay. And let's take a moment before I get back to this to say, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the follow button. In the description below the ongoing stream, you can find links to a Discord, a Twitter, and I think a YouTube page as well. So those three are my main socials. The Twitter is for hot takes and banter. The Discord, if you want to interact with me outside of the stream, or appear on one of these streams that I do. And then the YouTube is for both archiving streams that I particularly like, as well as for weird little content projects that I have. There's some interviews with some D&D people. There is a video on the history of public transit in Los Angeles, and other videos as well. So, check out the YouTube at Bardic Interrogation, check out the Discord, and check out the Twitter. Thank you very much. With that shilling for follows out of the way, let's get back to reading the wampums. Now let's see. Did we already read? Yes, we already read number 12. Hello, sweet potato, you're back. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Okay, well, do you have anything to say before we get to wampum number 13?
Nope.
Alright, cool. So let's read number 13. Chiefs to deliberate in low tones. So, no chief shall ask a question of the body of the chief of the league when they are discussing a case, question, or proposition. He may only deliberate in a low tone with the separate body of which he is a member. Note, such an action by a chief may result in disorder and delay the progress of the council. So, when someone is presenting their case, you don't interrupt them while they're giving it, but wait till you break out into your smaller sub-councils to sort of bring it up and hash it out then. That seems fair. Prevents things, prevents situations where you get Ron Paul or whoever the fuck it was reading Green Eggs and Ham for 5 hours on the Senate floor. Sounds like legislative committees. Yeah, it does kind of sound like legislative committees. It's a good way to subdivide what's going on and keep things fairly, moving. Oh. So, number 14. The council shall appoint a speaker for the day. So when the council of five nations shall convene, they shall appoint a speaker for the day. He shall be a chief of either the Mohawk, Onodaga, or Seneca nations. The next day, the council shall appoint another, but the first speaker may be reappointed if there is no objection, but the speaker's term shall not be regarded for more than a day. So this is kind of an ad hoc Speaker of the House situation. So, number 15. only chiefs shall have a voice in the Grand Council. So no individual or foreign nation interested in a case, question, or proposition shall have any voice in the Council of the League, except but to answer a question put to him by the Speaker of the Chiefs. This rule precludes hecklers and rowdy disruptions, as well as that very much enshrines sort of the, what's the term I'm looking for? The sovereignty of the Iroquois Confederacy. Because it means, obviously, you can't get, like, Dutch fur traders or, far off other tribes or whoever from sort of wiggling their way into the Confederation and sort of creating a sub, like a non-recognized national body. And sovereignty, of course, being very important for really any, group of people wanting to ensure that they have the ability to discuss and decide issues with little interference. And again, I'm a big proponent of workers' councils, so I will say this. Sovereignty is not just the oh my goodness, 18 people from Trekkie. Damn, how nice. Well, very, very much thank you to Trekkie for that raid. And for his 18 people who have just arrived, what we're doing is we're doing a reading of the Great Law of Peace. And we're sort of stopping to discuss it and sort of break down, what's going on along the way. There. Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Before we get back to that, I'll do, another commercial for the people who've just arrived. Hello, I'm Bardic Interrogation. Linked below, you can find my YouTube, my Twitter. Make sure to throw me a follow here on Twitch. And if you want, you can join the Discord, which will allow you to join the call like Sweet Potato has, so that you can discuss, in real time with me while we're doing our little annotated reading. So this is the Iroquois Confederacy's Great Law of Peace. So how it's broken down is you have it broken down into sections, and the sections are called wampums, and we are on number 15. And so with that, we will get back to that. So no individual or foreign nation interested in a case, question, or proposition shall have any voice in the Council of the League except to answer a question put to him by the Speaker of the Chiefs. Note that this rule precludes hecklers and rowdy disruptions. So yes, as I was saying, that this preserves the sovereignty of the council, right? And this is important not only for just a council, but also, and again, I've said this, I'm a big proponent of workers' councils. So I would say this is also important to workers' councils to maintain sovereignty. Many unions actually have their capacity for sort of their bargaining power disrupted, because you will have the corporation that they are trying to organize in question sort of institutionalize either their own union, or they will put in caveats that say there has to be some sort of corporate representation inside of a union, which is a way to sort of sabotage sovereignty. And one of the best ways to take down any effective organizing or legislative body is to begin the corruption of internal sovereignty. So that is a wampum number 15 you know, kind of sounds like a throwaway, but it's very important to keep in mind how key sovereignty is for having a functioning, you know, system. So if you're doing union organizing, which I encourage to anyone who's listening, keep sovereignty in mind. You want to create a body that is separate but is able to interact with other bodies, if that makes sense. Okay, so next to wampum number 16. In case a new law is made, if the conditions which shall rise at any future time call for an addition or a change of this law, the case shall be carefully considered, and if a new beam seems necessary or beneficial, the proposed change shall be decided upon, and, if adopted, shall be called added to the rafters. Note, this points out the law-making privileges of the Rotenjaner, which is, as we've discussed earlier, a title and not a specific person. So a Rotenjaner is kind of an orator-like role. So, by the way, for everyone who just arrived in chat, today is Theory Thursday. So, if you've read anything interesting, as we're doing right now, post it in chat and let me know. Okay, now we go to rights, duties, and qualifications of the statesman. I know, very interesting stuff, but it's important to learn this. We are at wampum number 17. So, clan mothers to hold chieftainship titles via wampum strings. So, a bunch of certain shells, wampum strings, each 2 spans in length, shall be given to each of the female families in which the chieftainship titles are vested. The right of bestowing the titles shall be hereditary in the family of females legally possessing the bunch of shell strings, and the strings shall be the token that the females of the family have the ownership to the chieftainship title for all time to come, subject to certain restrictions mentioned here. Note, the families mentioned are political families called clan. Women in possession of the chieftainship title, wampum strings, are clan mothers. Like the Rotenjaner, or chiefs, the clan mother can be deposed if she does a serious wrong, at which time another woman will be installed in her place as a clan mother. So there's a lot going on here. One, while this is very interesting, obviously you don't want hereditary titles, even if you can be removed based on poor behavior, because you can't really, hereditary situations do not really encourage, shall we say, meritocracy. I don't believe that a hereditary system can lead to something like that. Now, it is interesting that you have some... It's kind of interesting how it basically ensures that you will have female representation on the councils, which I'm not opposed to. I think that's actually a very, very good idea. It's just that hereditary thing that really catches me. Don't know how I feel about that. Okay, wampum number 18. So, chief deposed if he refuses to attend a council fire. Well, if any chief of the league neglects or refuses to attend the council of the league, The other chiefs of the nation of which he is a member shall require their war chief to request the female sponsors of the chief so guilty of neglecting his duties to demand his attendance at the council. If he refuses, the women holding the title shall immediately select another candidate for the title. No chief shall be asked more than once to attend the council of the league. Note, the clan mothers deposes the errant chief. The war chief delivers the order by reciting the words of deposition to the errant chief. The 3 clan mothers of the clan of the deposed chief immediately choose another royaner, or, chief. So, that's interesting. You only get one warning. Imagine some douchebag like Ted Cruz is like, no, I'm not coming to Congress. I'm protesting. You can't make me sign no gay marijuana bill. And it's like, well, you don't show up. You're no longer a senator. Jesus. I am very for that. I think that in a situation where someone is vested with this level of responsibility, barring some kind of issue or emergency, yeah, you have to partake in your responsibilities. And it's sort of weird how in our own U.S. system, you can act very, very irresponsibly, and there's just no repercussions that can really come from it. You can have sex scandals. I think there have been Congress people who've just like straight up murdered people and got away with it, and there's just no repercussions for that. You basically legal immunity, which is the total opposite in this case. Like, if you misbehave or if you act in a irresponsible manner, or you don't even show up to sessions, you're just straight up removed. And so this also kind of talks about, too, how much sovereignty do these nations within the league have, right? And it's like, well, they have what appears to be sovereignty within internal issues, but it looks like that if you refuse to cooperate with the league has the capacity to sort of override your chiefmanship of your own nation. So definitely less European Union and more, more U.S. or Swiss system. Okay, so, goodness, my throat. Okay, so wampum number 19. We have, this one's quite... So do we have anything to say or share before I start? The Swiss system is wildly chaotic. In practice, however, fairly good. I would agree with that mostly. I think that, it's weird too, because the Swiss system is sort of this weird, it's not like a lot of European parliaments where it arose, as sort of an imitation or, call for democracy in the 17 and 1800s, or even 1900s. But rather, the Swiss system has basically been in place and evolving consistently since the Middle Ages, and it is very chaotic. It's still kind of got the marks of a political system in which, in order to get information from one village to the other, you'd have to, ride a horse for 3 days. And so it vests a lot of power in local autonomy, which is very chaotic, but in practice, it's a very solid system for allowing relative autonomy. I mean, even if you look at it, right, like technically the Swiss don't even have a central head of state the way we do, in most countries. They have, kind of like this, a central council that really just appoints someone temporarily to act as a sort of head of state. And that's kind of interesting too, is that in the modern system, right, in the system of the UN, right, it's very hard to put yourself in a situation because it's kind of encouraged to have a head of state, right? Like the UN, if you want to participate in the global systems that surround us, it deeply encourages a more centralized system with a head of state. And I don't think that's a very healthy outlook. Well, yeah, they require a representative, but what I'm saying is like, you need a representative. No, you need a representative to the UN, yes, but also the UN, when there's a address to be given, or a major function to be happening at the UN, it's generally going to be the head of that state that will give like the address to the UN or something like that. Oddly, they minimized it as far as possible. Who minimized what as far as possible? The power lies at local level. In the Swiss system, you say? Yes. Most of the time, it's ambassadors. It's ambassadors. No, there very much is situations where the UN will call on a head of state to give an address or something. It's most of the time it's ambassadors, but when it's something of extra high importance, they'll call upon the head of state. Jurisdictions are wildly complicated. You mean about like the Swiss system? Yes, the cantons, I think, are what they call them, are complete messes and evolution, and basically like a feudal Holy Roman Empire, semi-anarchical, not anarchical in the anarchy way, but like just a mess brought back into the modern times. It's really wild. I kind of have a strange fascination with the Swiss political system, if only because it seems to be like the one weird state of the Holy Roman Empire that got away and still exists today, and I deeply love that. Okay. Let's see. How long have I been back since the break? So it hasn't been too long, has it? No, they're not. The Swiss are not disadvantaged in the UN because they don't have a head of state. But the UN as a global system definitely does encourage a more centralized model. And, if you disagree and you really, really want to discuss it, you are welcome to hop in the Discord and we can sort of hash this out. Just at me or one of my moderators while in the waiting room. I mean, okay, think about it this way, right? Is the UN has its... Okay, later. Well, I'm almost done with the reading. I think after number 19, I'm going to leave it there and encourage people to read from there. So we'll do something else after that. Okay. Number 19. An errant chief deposed by clan mother through the war chief. If at any time it shall be apparent that a chief of the League has not in mind the welfare of the people or disobeys the rules of the great law, the men or women of the League, both jointly, shall come to the council and scold the erring chief through his war chief. If the complaint of the people through the war chief is not heeded on the first occasion, it shall be uttered again, and then... Ooh, lost my place. And then, again, if no attention given, the third complaint and a warning shall be given. If the chief is still disobedient, the matter shall go to the council of war chiefs. The war chiefs shall then take away the title of the erring chief by order of the women in whom the title is vested. When the chief is deposed, the women shall notify the chiefs of the League through their war chief, and the chiefs of the League shall sanction the act. The women will then select another of their sons as a candidate, and the chiefs shall elect him. Then the chosen one shall be installed by the installation ceremony. When a chief is deposed, his war chief shall address him as follows. So you disregard and set at naught the warnings of your women relatives. You fling the warnings over your shoulder to cast them behind. Behold the brightness of the sun, and in the brightness of the sun's light I depose you of your title, and remove the emblem of your chieftainship title. I remove from your brow the deer antlers, which was the emblem of your position and token of your nobility. I now depose you and return the antlers to the women whose heritage they are. The war chief shall now address the women of the deposed chief and say, Mothers, as I have deposed your chief, I now return to you the emblem and the title of chiefmanship. Therefore, repossess them. Again, addressing the deposed chief, he shall say, As I have deposed and discharged you, so you are no longer a chief. The rest of the people of the League shall not go with you, for we know not the kind of mind you possess. As the Creator has nothing to do with wrong, so he will not come to rescue you from the precipice of destruction which you have cast yourself. You shall never be restored to the position you once occupied. Then the war chief address himself to the chiefs of the nation to which the deposed chief belongs and say, Know you, my chiefs, that I have taken the deer antlers from the brow of his name, the emblem of his position and token of his greatness. The chiefs of the League shall have no other alternative than to sanction the discharge of the offending chief. Damn, that's some Shakespearean shit. I also really like the fact that a lot of the time when you're looking at sort of foundational legal documents, especially with our own Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that, is language will be sort of vague, and it'll be like, this is the basic framework, now we leave it to you to fill in. I like that when it comes to something as important as sort of removing, essentially an executive from their position, that it is very specific in what the process is and how it is done. This ensures that along the way, no one can get all fucky with it or play around with the systems or dodge around it. So that's very good stuff right there. I love giving that little speech. That was fun. I think with that, we are going to end the reading. I'll post the link for this reading if you want to check it out yourself, both in chat and on my Discord. Let's get a full copy of the link. Come on, all of it. Select all. There we go. Okay, post that in chat if you're interested. Let's see, that link does work. Yes, okay. And then it will also be posted in the Discord. We will post it in the general political things channel. Or no, academic resources. It will be posted in the academic resources channel if you would like to check it out at a later date. And with that, the Theory Thursday reading is over.